Hello, and welcome to the Mr. Scene podcast. This is just a quick little message before you start the epic 20th episode, just to let you know why it's in two parts. So upon recording last night, it got to about the 3 hour 30 mark, and we realised that it's probably a bit long. So we have decided to split it in two. So this is a Mad Max two-parter. The first part, which you're about to listen to, is all about the original trilogy starring Mel Gibson. So we're going to talk through those three, our favourite moments from it. And then in the second episode, part two, it's all about Fury Road and celebrating its 10th anniversary, which we were all very excited about. So, we hope you enjoy this epic two-parter that we have concocted for you. Enjoy listening. Hello, everyone. 20th episode, boys. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's been 20 weeks straight, and we've got a full house today. It's me, it's Charlie. Hello. Charlie. It's Ollie.
Hello.
And he's back.
Hello.
Our man Harry. First episode.
It's only gone like a week, right? 'Cause
3. Akira was the last one.
Yeah. How much have you done between? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Losing track. Yeah.
So
So
what do we do after
You've done Event
Akira?
Horizon.
Yeah.
Then what did you
That's
guys
it.
do with? Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
he's only missed
Akira
one.
was 17.
He's only missed one episode.
No. What was it?
We have.
No. There's one other one.
Absolutely fascinating start to the episode.
This is really embarrassing.
We just try and remember what else we've recorded.
19 Event
Oh,
Horizon.
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was only 2.
I
You missed 2.
Yeah, I didn't know that the Thunderbolts
Anyway.
one happened.
Yeah.
It's a full house. It's our 20th episode, and we are also celebrating 10 years of Fury Road. So this is our Fury Road celebration, 20th celebration, but also it's turned into a whole Mad Max affair. We're going to look at the whole anthology, which, as today, I have learned, only me and Ollie, I think. Have you seen the originals,
Yes.
Charles? You have?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
Okay, yeah, I'm the odd one out.
you're
then,
the
but
odd
that's
one
fine.
out. To be honest, I've only seen the first 3 this week. That was the first time I've ever watched any of the original
Wow.
ones. I wasn't originally intending to do it, but I thought, you know what, I want to go all out. But we have a Mad Max fan, if that makes sense, in our man Ollie.
Yeah, I do love Mad Max. There was a period of my life where Mad Max was my bread and butter. And obviously you can't see this because this is an audio, not a visual. This is an audio podcast, not a video. I have got some props with me. I've got some of my Mad Max comic book collection. I've got the Mad Max video game from 2014 or 2015, I believe, that came out around the time of Fury Road. I love Mad Max, and we'll get into
I think
why.
when we were this past week, I think it was you were like sending he was like, sent us photos of the comics, sent us photos of the video, sent us photos of the special edition Road Warrior. We've been all watching parts and sending photos of us watching the films and stuff like that. It's actually been quite a build up for us, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, right, I said this to Dan earlier in the week. I haven't had a chance to speak to you guys yet about it, but my reasoning for pushing for this to be a sort of Mad Max retrospective is just because I think it's kind of impossible to talk about Fury Road without at least acknowledging the other ones and George Miller's career and Mel Gibson, and because this sort of like diesel punk exploitation, don't want to call it a subgenre, but it wouldn't really exist without the original Mad Max.
Yeah,
and
for
there
sure.
is so much that is owed to the original Mad Max and the Road Warrior.
I completely agree with that. I think from watching them, I straight away felt like, I'm so glad that I watched these originals before doing this episode, because you're completely right. It is, especially Road Warrior, it takes so much from Road Warrior, like the most recent 2, that it like you say, it's so difficult to not mention them or have a nice discussion about them at all.
And also just because I feel like we've said this before. We've spoken about like this nostalgia bubble culturally that we seem to be in at the moment, where these franchises that were around in like the 70s and 80s seem to be the only things that are drawing in numbers at the moment, aside from the Marvel Disney stuff. It's all of your Star Wars, Amblin, John Hughes, Steven Spielberg stuff. Like the Stranger Things as well has contributed to that, but like all of the things that are making money are legacy sequels and 80s things, right? And the franchise that doesn't seem to get spoken about enough is Mad Max. For all of the last sort of like 15 years of these types of podcasts and pop culture people talking about Star Wars and RoboCop and Terminator and all of these big Predator, Alien, Mad Max doesn't come up enough. And I think those films, particularly the first two, are really, really good, and not enough people. What I liked about Fury Road is that it made people go back and rewatch, particularly The Road Warrior. But I feel like we kind of owe it to those films, and to George Miller. He seems like such a nice guy.
Oh,
like we should talk about the originals.
I feel like a lot of it owes to George Miller being the person he is, of like where everything else. I don't necessarily want to say it's been forced on people, but like they're bringing it back, you know, to hit a target, to hit something. Whereas this feels like it's George Miller's baby. Like this only happened with him. It seems very like almost authorial about it, and like
definitely.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think of. I think they are extremely unique. I can't really think of another film, especially like I say, 1979 was the first one. I can't think of anything around that time that did a film that was similar to Mad Max. It was unique. I can't think of anything else, especially the way that they used it was very specific in what they were doing. Well, I think the third one,
the combination of stuff, because in isolation, none of it is particularly original. And the first film we're going to get into, I'm going to touch on the first film a little bit. It is basically just a really, really well-tuned and well-put together stunt reel that is sort of strung over some pretty well-trodden narrative tropes. So it's drawing on like a lot of samurai, gunslinger stuff like that. The whole sort of Max as like a revenge driven character isn't particularly original, but exactly the combination of stuff, setting it in Australia, being particularly around road and traffic violence, the stunts themselves, like the combination of everything was I can't you're right, I can't. Obviously, if we're wrong, please correct us in the comments and stuff. But I can't. I'm like you. I can't think of any other, at least at that time,
or like franchise
that combined those elements in that specific order and combination. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Mad Max Fury Road, and then also I think it's gonna be a nice opportunity for us to talk about Furiosa. Because that was a film that the four of us were massively excited for. Yeah, we all watched it, and we didn't really get an opportunity to talk about it at all. So I think we'll talk about that after.
It's a big Fury Mad Max celebration, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Cool. So what we usually do is we usually start with a kind of memories thing. Yeah. So where were we when we first? So we start with Fury Road because this is the 10th anniversary.
Yeah, I think
So Fury Road, first time seeing it. Charlie got a bit confused earlier.
Yeah. I worked at a cinema chain, and I remember seeing the trailer drop and being very excited because we'll get to like we're gonna talk about Mad Max 1, right?
Yeah.
So my household was like a Mad Max. My mum was mental about Mad Max, Mel Gibson, anything Mel Gibson. So I think I watched the first Mad Max probably when I was about 7, just shoved in front of the TV.
Nice.
It was sort of a film that I remember rewatching a lot at home. Same with Road Warrior. But yeah, Fury Road, watched it at the cinema, was excited for it. Obviously, I think we all are in agreement. We loved it. I think I saw it at the cinema 5 times. All in IMAX.
All in IMAX?
Yeah.
What?
Taking full use of those free tickets. Just...
What about you, Harry? So I don't really have a fun story of getting to this. I'm the person at the table here who has not seen the originals. For a long time, that is mostly just I can't deal with Mel Gibson. Not even necessarily in like the political element of it. He just always seemed a bit embarrassing to me. I mostly grew up with the era of him being like a South Park joke and a Simpsons joke, and so for whatever reason, just can't deal with that. And then obviously him being the person he later went on to be, I'm just like, you know what? Nah, not doing this. But then Fury Road came out. It's like I should probably watch this again. Seeing the not realizing its influence at the time, but then being into like a lot of video games, a lot of stuff that was later, took a lot from this. I had like an old, not the D&D ones, but the old like game books you would do where you would fill stuff in, and there was very much a Road Warrior-esque one of those. So this thing came out, and was like, yeah, I need to see this. Didn't see it in the cinema, probably one of my biggest regrets. I have now seen it in the cinema, but like missing the IMAX showing, something I'm very bummed out about. But yeah, and so then ended up not actually seeing it for a couple of years until I like picked it up on Blu-ray on you know what, I need to tick this box. My other early memory of it, however, was Super Mario Maker, the first one of those. There were a lot of really good Mad Max levels in that. So that's the reference that I don't think anyone else has. But yeah, playing a lot of those.
What about you, Ollie?
I'm really glad that Harri has brought up the South Park and Simpsons, Mel Gibson being a bit of a punching bag, because I feel like in these previous episodes that Harri hasn't been on, I make quite a lot of pop cultural references specifically to things like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm barking up the wrong tree, because I'll be like, oh my God, do you remember that bit in South Park where they do this and they take the piss out of this guy? And sometimes Dan and Charlie just sit and like as if I've just spoken in Klingon or something. So I'm glad, because I have the exact same, some of my earliest memories. And what I love about the South Park lampooning Mel Gibson is that they do him as like it's a real life photograph of Mel Gibson that they've just pasted into the show, and he's just running around doing crazy stuff. And Trey Parker and Matt Stone actually love the Road Warrior. So there are loads of references throughout the entirety of South Park to that film. In Stan's bedroom, there is a poster for the Road Warrior on the wall. And you got to remember, like, South Park's like, 30 years old now?
Yeah.
So this is like 15, 20 years before Fury Road, like anybody even knew that was a thing. And they had like Road Warrior references in it. There is an episode where I think it's going to sound really vulgar and crass, and if people are listening for the first time, I swear we're a bit higher brow than this. But there is an episode built around queefing, and
first episode of South Park I watched, I think.
in the queef episode, it ends in like the Supreme Court or whatever. They're doing a ruling about whether or not women should be able to queef in public. And one of them quotes the Lord Humongous directly from the Road Warrior. Anyway, I'm really sorry. I've buried the lead.
Episode 20, the queef episode.
I think it might just be called queefing.
Yeah,
I think that's what the episode is called. I've buried the lead here massively. So as I've told you guys a few times, I was sort of raised on a steady diet of like McTiernan, Cameron films by my dad. So like every weekend when my dad was at home, he'd be like, oh, we're going to sit down and we're going to watch Predator, or we're going to watch Aliens, or we're going to watch The Abyss. Cronenberg as well when I got slightly older, and Verhoeven and things like that. Some of my fondest memories were sitting down and watching First Blood Part 2 on a Saturday with my dad. Because it was like male bonding, but it was also like I was like 7 or 8 years old and I was like, I'm watching a film that's like an 18.
Yeah.
So my dad and I would always watch films like that, and my dad was always talking about Mad Max because my dad was a huge fan of The Road Warrior. And my dad and I had gone to the cinema in 2014 to watch something, and it probably would have been either the Planet of the Apes sequel with Gary Oldman, or maybe even the RoboCop remake, or TMNT, something like that. One of the shitty blockbusters that came out in 2014. I actually quite like the Planet of the Apes sequel. That's not including that bracket. The Planet of the Apes those films are pretty good. But we went to watch whatever film it was, and they showed the trailer for Fury Road, and my dad was like vibrating in his seat, like, this looks amazing. I can't believe they're making a new Mad Max. It's amazing. And he turned to me and he was like, we've got to go and see that because like the second one's amazing, isn't it? And I was like, I've not seen the second one. And it was a bit like Hot Fuzz. He's like, you've not seen the Road Warrior. You've not seen the Road Warrior. And I was like, no, I haven't seen the Road Warrior. So we got home, and my dad was like, you've got to watch the Road Warrior. My dad had it on DVD. And so I watched the Road Warrior. And I was like, I stayed up one night. It was a school night. I watched it on my own. And my dad was working nights. And I was like, this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm going to talk about the Road Warrior at length. But it's basically just an hour and a half long car chase. That's basically. And I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. So by the time a year later Fury Road came out, I was unbelievably hyped for it. So was my dad. it was a film that like both me and my dad were 110% both of us hyped to see, because more often than not it would be either me pestering him to take me to something or him saying, can you come with me to watch this? And we both end up having a good time, but it was very rare that we were both like geared up to see the same, the exact same. We were both as equally hyped as one another to see it. Went to see it, absolutely loved it. I was 14, so I went to school and I said to my group of friends, Fury Road is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It has completely and utterly changed me as a human being. I'm not the same boy that I was the day before yesterday. We have to go and see it immediately. Let's go. So me and my group of friends, and I'm not going to dox any of them. There's a small possibility one or two of them might be listening. If they are, hello. But me and my group of friends, and there was a big group of us at this point. So I'm just going to rattle through in my head. There's going to be about 8 or 9 of us, right? We were like, we're going to go watch it this weekend. It's going to be amazing. We're going to get McDonald's or KFC beforehand. We're going to go in. We're gonna go watch Fury Road. So we get to the cinema, and none of us were 15 at the time. We were all 14. But we were all just sort of like so pumped and charged up. We were like, yeah, if we just like puff our chests out, stand up and like stand up straight and tall and put on deep voices. So yeah, we'll have 8 tickets to Fury Road, please. No one will suspect a thing, right? And they immediately saw right through us. And obviously we were 14 years old. So obviously for you guys listening, you know that I've always been a big guy. So when I went to see it with my dad, there was like no question that I was 15. But when a bunch of obvious school children go, it's very obvious. So we were at the cinema. All of our mums and dads had dropped us up there. It was a Saturday. We couldn't then call our parents 15 minutes later and go, Mum, can you come and pick us up? Because like, we haven't been allowed into the film. So we were like, right, we're here now. We may as well watch another film. So we ended up watching Pitch Perfect 2, which we all ended up enjoying. There was a cameo from Snoop Dogg. I thought it was quite funny. At first I was a little bit pissed off because I was saying to the guys like, no, like you don't know what you're missing. Fury Road is amazing. Like, it's changed my life. And they were just sort of like, oh, it's okay, man. We'll go watch Pitch Perfect. I was like, no, I wanted to watch Fury Road. Eventually, the vast majority of them did watch Fury Road, and they were like, yeah, this is sick. But that Saturday, we ended up watching Pitch Perfect 2. So that's my long-winded story. We went to watch a bit of George Miller exploitation diesel punk action. And we ended up seeing Anna Kendrick and what's the Australian? Rebel Wilson. Lip syncing for whatever.
I hope everyone's excited for episode 21, Pitch Perfect.
Do you know what? I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was pretty funny, and it could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse.
It could have been, yeah. Mine isn't as fun as that. I pretty much just went to the cinema, I think. But no, it was me and Ashley went to see it at the. It was when we were at uni, we were able to, as students, I don't know, there was some website where you could basically get free tickets to early screenings and stuff like that. We went to an early screening of that, is it Mama, that the kind of ghost, got like early screenings to that, Oz the Great and Powerful, and one of them was Fury Road, and it was at the O2 Super Screen, and I think it was the first time I'd been in the O2 Super Screen. It seemed to me back then gigantic. It's one of those cinemas where it's got a balcony. It's got balcony seats, like it's fucking massive. I just remember it opening up, and it's all the talking, and it's all black, and you just hear the talking going around the surround system, and then he drives off in his car, and then we'll hear it shortly, but he just the cars coming over me. I think I ducked a little bit. My head and my neck went into my shoulders because it genuinely felt like the cars that were coming over the top of the screen were coming over the top of the screen. And in terms of I know Fast and Furious has like cars and stuff, but it was the first time that a car like that had such a sound of a car had such an effect on me. And one of the things that I was really impressed with from watching the original 3. Especially the first 2, especially the first one, in fact, is when you hear in the first one him first rev the engine of the Interceptor that they've been building. That sound was incredible for a film back then. I was like, that's insane, and watching that this week made me think so much about the experience of me watching Fury Road in the cinema. Like the sound design in all these are exceptional. But yeah, so I was at O2 super screen, nearly blew my head off. It was one of the loudest films I'd seen in the cinema as well. It was insane.
You have to watch this loud. Like this. Is
Oh,
not
it was soundbar on.
Yeah. This is.
I remember in the IMAX, the seat was shaking. Like
That's when you know it's
like no 4DX, but
yeah,
just.
Could you imagine that film with 4DX? Jesus.
You're very lucky to have seen it in IMAX. I haven't. I've seen it in iSense, which is Odeon's sort of like Poundland version of IMAX, really, isn't it? Or and then the Cineworld equivalent of that is Super Screen. I'd love to see it in IMAX. I know they sometimes show it at the BFI.
Yeah.
And I had a friend that managed to see it. It had a re-release in 2016 for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it was an anniversary of one of the older films. I don't know. And then obviously it had a limited re-release the week before Furiosa last year. But it's one of those things where I would. There are a handful of films that I would pay to go to the BFI to see that are like older, that are not new releases, and Fury Road is one of them. I've not seen it in IMAX, and I would pay a pretty penny to see it for sure.
Definitely 100%.
And I sorry to cut you off there.
No.
I can't remember what episode it is, but I said in one of the previous episodes that Creed and 2049, for my money, were probably the best. I hate to use this phrase, but legacy sequels. I had forgotten Fury Road at that time, and I think that Fury Road might just be the best. If we're talking about like dormant franchises that came back in the 2010s, reboots, whatever, it's probably the best one.
Well, again, it also like I said, I don't think it necessarily feels like an attempt to reboot it. It just feels like this one mad dude has come back to keep on.
Yeah.
Like this thing was. This is not a group of investors sat round and were like, okay, what's going to make us the money? It's George Miller sort of in a garage somewhere, hair all crazy. Like,
And when you think about it as well, you don't need to see the original 3 to watch Fury Road.
This is why
you could just jump into Fury Road straight away.
I think we have to talk about the other ones because continuity in this franchise is a big thing. That's why I brought the game and the comic books, or rather the lack of it, because it's really interesting in that there isn't really a continuity.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about each of the films.
Well, should we go there now?
Yeah. Why don't we start with Mad Max? The first
Mad Max 1979. You had some interesting budget. So I've got here that it was a budget of 300,000 Oz dollars, Australian dollars.
Yeah. So it's Mad Max is still to this day one of the most profitable films of all time. It is absolutely crazy. So yeah,
it was like 8.5 million.
The exact budget it's a bit difficult to pin down, but they say it's somewhere between 350 to 400,000 Australian dollars, which I'm not a good mental calculator of currency, but that's going to be considerably less in US dollars or in
English
sterling, right? Adjusted for inflation, that's about 1.5 million Australian dollars. It made 100 million at the global box office, which adjusted for inflation is $450 million. So for 1 million or 1.5 million Australian, which again that's going to be considerably less in American dollars, it made 450 million globally. That's pretty mental.
Yeah, from the first one.
Yeah, for the first, and considering it was the first main feature. Miller had made I think 2 short films before that, but for a first film, that's pretty mental.
Do you know what film replaced it as the Guinness World Record holder?
I did read this, but I forgot what it was.
Or for the most profitable?
It was the Blair Witch Project.
Was it actually?
Makes sense.
Wow,
makes sense.
Yeah, well, that was made for like a tuppence. That one. This was that. In terms of in you seeing the Mad Max films, was that the very first one you saw?
No, so this is the interesting thing, right? This is one of the few examples, people that talk about pop culture grifters and people on the internet like us that like to just sit and chat bollocks about films. They love to say that this is a franchise where the sequel is better than the original, and they'll bring up things like Terminator or The Dark Knight or whatever. this is a example of what I think most people around the world will agree, a franchise where the sequel is better than the original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And most people have memories of seeing the Road Warrior first.
Yeah.
That is because in North America it was not billed as Mad Max 2.
It
So
was just
it was just billed as the Road Warrior. So Mad Max came out in Australia. It was a massive hit. As I said, I think before we started recording, I can't remember, it was the most popular film in Australia in 1979. It made more money that year in Australia than Star Wars made in 1977, which for an M-rated, which is the Australian equivalent of an X, that is an insane feat to accomplish. Really, really popular, but it didn't have a massive sort of like boom in North America. It was picked up by a distributor whose name I can't remember, but they were going through financial trouble at the time. They sort of struggled to distribute it. It kind of had like a second life on home video, but it wasn't really a massive thing. It's popular in Australia, popular in the UK. So when the Road Warrior came out, in America, they just released it as The Road Warrior. Everywhere else, it was billed as Mad Max 2. But the brilliant thing about it is you don't really have to have seen it to understand the film.
Yeah.
And that goes basically for all of them.
Yeah.
You don't have to, that's the brilliance of Fury Road. You don't have to have seen the original 3 to appreciate it.
So this week was the first week I saw it. I'd obviously seen Fury Road, and then I did the Mad Max in order. And I didn't know what to expect. I was because I literally had seen nothing. I hadn't even seen a trailer. I knew nothing about it, and it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. But I still really enjoyed it. I was a little bit confused because obviously we know Mad Max being set in a post-apocalyptic world, and the first one I'm assuming is, but it doesn't portray it in that way.
I was going to say, if I can cut in, because as I said, as the one who hasn't seen stuff, like in terms of asking questions, my understanding is there is quite a lot of civilization still here.
Yes,
in the first one, right?
There's police officers.
Yeah, like reading about it. Yeah, it's like back at the precinct, and et cetera, et cetera, which is.
The precinct isn't. It's more like a shell of a building.
Yeah.
So you do get those elements and the feel of that. This isn't a real proper civilization, but it also doesn't take you to full Road Warrior, Fury Road, apocalyptic.
Yeah.
So I was not expecting that. But what else I wasn't expecting was actually how fucking brutal it is.
Yeah, man.
The death of the child and that whole. I wasn't expecting to be like that. Toe Cutter, who is actually Immortan Joe, same actor. His hands are fucking massive. He's actually a big guy, and everyone in that is mad. Like, I could imagine watching this in 1979 thinking, like, who has written this film? Who has given people money to make this film?
So that was one of the things when me and my dad watched the trailer for Fury Road, when Hugh Keys-Byrne shows up as the Immortan Joe in the trailer, my dad was nudging me, going, "That's Toe Cutter from the..." And I was like, "I haven't seen the film. I don't know what you're talking about." But yeah, that's he comes back obviously in Fury Road. This is the thing. A lot of people haven't. I've spoken to people when we worked at the cinema, and then obviously on film courses like at A-level or at uni and stuff. You speak to people about Mad Max, and everybody loves Fury Road and the Road Warrior. Not many people have seen the first one. So not many people know, as I say, the plot. Basically, as a jumping off point, you're right. It is set in... They don't give a specific date.
No.
And George Miller plays fast and loose with the continuity in between these films. The opening crawl says sometime from now? Or
it's like 3 days from now. It says that bit, but it's like in the near future. I can't exactly remember, but they don't put a specific date on it.
It just opens a year from now. So Mel Gibson plays Max Rockatansky. He is essentially a police officer in the fictional Main Force Patrol, and they wear sort of all black leathers. They drive around in interceptors or pursuit specials. They are these
very bright coloured cars as
very
well. Very
garish yellow Ford Falcons that have been adapted for the movie. And the basic premise is that society is on the brink of collapse. It's not quite at a dystopia yet, but it is just on the cusp of it. And society is starting to break down. Now, the behind-the-scenes reasonings for this is twofold. A, Miller and Kennedy couldn't afford to shoot in any actual decent newly built buildings. They only had access to like derelict places and like underground car parks and stuff like that. and abandoned foundries and mining towns. So it made sense to set it in like a near future or near dystopia, because the buildings are kind of in disrepair because they couldn't afford to film in any. I think the only sort of upheld sort of decent locations in the film are Max's house and then the hospital that Goose is in later on. But yeah, it's like a near dystopia, and also because when he was writing it, when Miller was writing it, he needed a way to sort of frame the ridiculous action that the audience would believe. Because as I said earlier, this is basically like a really high-end stunt reel, and the action just became so over the top that it became a bit of a farce to say that this is happening in like a normal, everyday society. Obviously, it's set in Australia, we know that, but it doesn't really say so.
No.
They don't ever actually say a location, and again, they sort of play fast and loose with where this is happening. When it was released in North America, they dubbed over some of the accents with American actors.
Really?
But because they thought that the Australian voices were going to be too difficult for American audiences to understand. So some people thought that it was set in America, but obviously Mel Gibson is an American-born Australian, so he has a bit of a mixed accent to begin with. So again, the setting, both in like when and where, is kind of vague. But it's the near future, and society is on the brink of collapse. That's why police officers are quitting left and right. Max tries to resign at some point during the film.
There is still some kind of like shops or not restaurants, but like cafes open and stuff like that.
There's a roadside cafe that him and Goose are eating at the start. There's a strip club that they visit, and then obviously there's a hospital. But the police station itself is like half derelict. Like there's massively, it's kind of Kubrickian in that there's loads of locations that we go into and there's nothing. It's like completely abandoned and derelict, and like there's, aside from like a car in the background, there's nothing in there. There's no signs of life. But that's part of the charm that I love about it. There are very few films that do the near dystopian, halfway there, halfway not. It's almost always, we're 50 years in the future, or a nuclear apocalypse has happened. Think of things like The Walking Dead, The Last of Us, Terminator, all the franchises that we love, right? They're always after the apocalypse. This is just sort of on the cusp. And there's no mention of like a nuclear war or whatever.
No.
Come The Road Warrior and Fury Road, there is a nuclear war, and there is like a more concrete backstory to it, which we'll get to. But in this one, it's like shit's about to hit the fan, but it doesn't. So anyway, I've sort of long-winded that. Max is a police officer in the main force patrol. He has a wife and a young son who is just credited as Sprog. Which is Australian slang for baby. His wife is called, is it Jess, I think?
Yes.
And him and his mate Goose are two very, very skilled pursuit drivers, and they sort of spend the movie chasing and being chased by this biker gang that is terrorizing the town that Max lives in, and this biker gang is led by a guy called Toe Cutter, and he is the dude who is played by is it Hugh? I can't remember the fella's name. I should do. It was his birthday this week. He passed away. But yeah, the Immortan Joe from Fury Road, he's leading this biker gang, and it
all sparks off from a guy called Knight Rider.
Yep.
Who is basically hammering through the town, and all the police intercept, all the previous interceptors are trying to get him, but they can't. And then this is where they call Max, and then Max ends up chasing him, and he ends up dying. And I think isn't it also that Toka and that are basically trying to get revenge, find out that Max was the one who caused him to have this crash and die, and they're trying to kind of find Max, and it's a kind of they're chasing each other, really, isn't it? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, that's basically it. If that sounded a bit confusing and convoluted, it's kind of because it is. There isn't really, like I said with Event Horizon, it isn't really that much of a detailed screenplay. There isn't that much of a story.
No.
It is very much showcasing these brilliant stunts, and the stunts are amazing.
Yeah.
The DP, whose name I can't remember, was doing things that you absolutely would not get away with today. Filming literally with no safety,
no harness or anything like that.
sitting on the back of somebody driving a motorbike at 70 miles per hour, holding a camera over his shoulder, getting shots while the bike is going.
And the amount of ones where the camera's like low on the ground as well. You can imagine him just like leaning out of cars. Those shots of just cars going past, I could have watched that for ages. Just
it's
the way
fantastic.
it's done.
It's the first Australian film shot in CinemaScope, and it looks great. It's amazing. The stunts. I particularly love the bit with the blue minivan at the start that gets smacked head on. It
straight
spins
on.
out.
Yeah,
that is fun fact. That is George Miller's actual van. A little bit of a backstory on George Miller, because I think we have to touch on him before we go on the other ones. He was a first responder ambulance driver and a paramedic by trade. That's what he had trained in. He was a ER doctor, and so he had seen a litany of horrendous aftermaths of high-speed crashes and collisions. And it was doing that for many years that inspired him to think, I could make a movie based around this type of gore and viscera that is to do with road violence and street gangs and motorbikes and cars and all that sort of stuff. He met Kennedy. Is it Byron Kennedy? I should know this. I'm the Mad Max fan. He met Byron Kennedy during a summer film course somewhere. They just got talking. I don't know which school they were at, but they just got talking. They were discussing their love of films, and they said to each other, "Why don't we make a film together?" And that's basically it. They financed it through Miller's career as an ER doctor and as a first responder. And it was a lot of guerrilla filmmaking, a lot of filmmaking without permits, shutting down roads that they didn't have authority to do, borrowing equipment that they weren't authorized to borrow, paying extras with beer and things like that, telling players to bring their own cars and bikes and things. It was very sort of like...
Apparently most of the biker gang were Australian Hells Angels.
Yes, and they were told, just bring your own bike and you can put it in a movie. Yeah. And they were like, sick, it's a chance to get my cool bike on film. A lot of the stunts, as I said, they were done by people with little to no protective equipment worn, stuff that you absolutely would not get away with today on a modern film set. But that's the jumping off point, the start of this franchise. Massive success in Australia, massive success here in the UK, but didn't really take off in North America.
There was a speaking of like the no health and safety when doing all of the stunts. There's the scene where I think it's towards the end where Max basically drives head on into the biker gang, and a load of them just like some of them fly off the bridge and one of them crashes onto the bridge. In the slow motion shot, one of the people that falls off of the bike wheel actually smacks him in the back of the head. And I'm thinking stuff like that, like that's not staged, that's actually happened.
Yeah, there's a stunt in the second in the Road Warrior.
Yes,
that we'll get to, but you know what I'm talking about.
I think that's basically. Sorry to cut you off, Charlie.
No.
Karen.
That we'll get to it.
Yeah, that's all you really need to say about the first one, because it in many ways you could watch it almost as like an extended prologue to the Road Warrior.
Yeah,
like it's a product of its time. It's not very.
For what happens in it as well, so obviously his wife and child get run over by Toe Cutter, which in itself the way they portray that is quite. It's not graphic or anything, but it's just the thought of it being. Basically, you see it's off screen, and then you just see the car like bump as if it's gone over a speed bump.
Yeah.
Or his bike as if it's gone a speed bump, and then you just see like a shoe and a kid's ball run away. It's quite. It's not nice to watch.
That's what I was going. Harri mentioned Miller as an auteur, and as much as I've sort of downplayed this film and said it's like a stunt show reel, there are quite a few moments where you can see George Miller's voice really shining through. That is one of them. It's a really indelible image. The shot of the children, the kids' shoe.
Yeah.
So as you said, they don't show any of the violence of his wife and child getting killed. You see Toe Cutter and his gang flying down the road at whatever speed.
As she's running away.
His wife and son are running away, and then you don't see the collision. All you do is you see the child's
bump.
You hear a bump, and then you see the little kid's boot fly off into the distance.
And then the ball just rolls away, but the camera just stays on it for what seems forever. The ball just rolling.
There is another fantastic sequence where he first sees Goose in the hospital.
Yes.
There's some. It's a really sort of. What's the word I'm looking for? Tense scene, he goes, Goose is his partner, Goose is his friend. I thought it was funny how his partner's name was Goose.
Goose, yeah.
But yeah, Goose is his mate, who is a bit more renegade and throws caution to the wind a bit more than Max does, and Goose ends up getting hospitalised by Toe Cutter and his gang. He gets sort of burnt alive, and Max goes to see him in hospital, and this is one of the only scenes that takes place in like an actual building with people that seems like
they might have had to pay for.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes in and he sees his mate's Goose, and he's all charred up and burnt, and you don't see what's happened to him. You just cut to Max's face.
It's basically like a weird kind of like a shock cut into his eyes. It like zooms in a little bit, and it's the music.
Yep, the score by Brian May is fantastic in that scene. Not the same Brian May from Queen.
When I saw it, I was like, hang on a minute. I don't remember this happening.
And then the lighting in particular is fantastic. I know that's a really pretentious, wanky thing to say, but like it is really good. And you can see Harry saying George Miller's an auteur, 100%. You can see a bit of an autorial voice start to come through here.
I really like the last thing I just want to point out is when Knight Rider at the beginning gets killed, just before he has the head collision into the another vehicle, it does like a jump cut to like the glasses fly off and like eyes just pop out of his skull as if to realise.
Yes, yeah.
And then it is mirrored at the end when Toe Cutter goes head on into the lorry. It's the exact same thing where it's like you go through the visor. It's really quick. You go through the visor, and then it's like these comical eyes just popping out of a skull, realising, fuck, it's there. And then it just, I thought those two little kind of like married up death jump cut eye pops were pretty fucking cool.
But yeah, so we'll move on to the Road Warrior, because I think that's the one that of the original trilogy everybody loves.
Can I hop in with a quick anecdote?
Of course,
Again, like I said, I've not seen this movie, but going back to like where were we when we first watched stuff, one of my first experience of knowing this film existed was because I had a mate at school who, his main like reason for ever watching a movie was because it had cars in it. He was a big car nut, and so he would like always offer to lend me stuff, and it was like I ended up passing on this because he also offered me like Death Proof, which is whatever, but most of the time it was like, here's this 2-hour documentary starring Jeremy Clarkson. He was like, this is a really good movie. So when it got to, do you want to borrow Mad Max? I'm like, no, you're all right, mate. So yeah, that's why
he put you off.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm gonna you've jogged my memory a bit, and I can't believe that I wanted to say this when we started in Mad Max, because this point from me will come up when we talk about Fury Road. I think that Mad Max's V8 Interceptor is the coolest movie car of all time.
So I wanted to
100%
I wanted to ask about this, because it's weird to me, because I had obviously heard the words, like it's the last of the V8 Interceptors and what have you. And I mean, we'll get into it when we talk about Fury Road, but it weirdly seems unimportant by the time you get there. Like, they destroy it in the first 5 minutes.
This is the thing.
This is what is so weird to me, is looking back again as a big Fast and Furious guy, where like the car is the thing.
Yep.
It's interesting that from my experience of it is how much of a thing is the car in this case.
So this is what I was going to talk about, because continuity or the lack thereof is a thing that Mad Max fans love to talk about, and the car is a big thing that plays into the continuity, because the car gets destroyed and rebuilt twice in the movies, and then if you count the video games as well, and the comic book, which I'm tapping right now, the car is something that fans love to prove or disprove. No, this takes place before this film, and but no, I think the car is the coolest car in all of cinema, which is a big thing, because movie cars, people take that shit very seriously. Like, no, the X01 is cooler than Knight Rider. No, it's not as good as Dom's Charger. No, it's not as good as the Batmobile from '89. I think that the V8 Interceptor is the coolest car. It is a modified Ford Falcon. What's the word I'm looking for? The Concorde front was a modification that they made to it. It doesn't come like that. The Ford Falcon was a thing that was massive in Australia, that got imported to the UK, but never really made it to the US. So it's one of those movie cars that is quite sought after now by collectors, because it wasn't really like commercially available in the States. But in the first film, it appears in those horrible like piss yellow colours and then one of the reason why it becomes black and has that massive what's the is it injector on the
yeah,
on the hood?
the bit, yeah.
On
On top of the engine, I can't remember what they're called.
it's because in the story, Max goes to his like line manager, whoever it is, and this is an indicator that society is about to collapse, because the police station is really ramshackled, and there's not really a clear structure or organization to any of it. They just sort of like chase criminals when they can, but there doesn't seem to be a real
there's no like jail or cells, or like if they catch them, what you don't really think what are they gonna actually do with them.
It seems like the main force patrol is like the last line of defense, but beyond that it doesn't really serve any of the functions of like a normal police force, right? Max goes to his line manager at some point during the film, just before he goes on vacation with his wife, and says, I need to quit. I've had too much of this. I've seen too much action. I've seen too much violence. I'm starting to lose it. And his boss says to him, like, no, we need you. You're the best driver we have, blah, blah, blah. And one of the ways to try and keep him in the force, like bribe him, is they give him this brand new, souped up, all black painted Interceptor. So it's like the normal standard issue police car, but they've just painted it black and modified it and made it cool. They've put like the 8 exhausts on the side and everything, and they've like modified the hell out of it. But yeah, the car is like, for my money, the coolest car in all of movies. It survives the end of the first film, shows up in the Road Warrior and gets destroyed. But yeah, it's a modified Ford Falcon, and we will talk about it because that's my missing scene may include the car later on. But yeah, followed up by Mad Max 2 in 1981, released on Christmas Eve in Australia for a budget of, again, 4.5 million. It was 3,500 for the first one, 4.5 million for the second one. Made 73 million globally, so adjusted for inflation, about 300 million. Didn't make as much money as the first one did, but I would say is more like culturally ubiquitous. People, when they reference Mad Max, or at least before Fury Road came out, when they referenced Mad Max, this was the one that they were talking about.
Yeah.
This is the one that opens with the monologue that references a nuclear war. This is the one that is set undoubtedly in a post-apocalypse. This is the one that really introduces the diesel punk kind of wasteland future.
If out of the three, if you've only seen Fury Road or Furiosa, this is the one that you would link most to out of the three. This is the one where you go, oh, if you was to watch Fury Road Warrior first, you wouldn't think you wouldn't think anything of it. If you watched the first Mad Max or Beyond Thunderdome, you might think they are part of a different. But anyway, yeah, we'll get into it.
So the majority of the crew from the first one came back, directed and written by George Miller. Terry Hayes and Brian Hannett wrote it with him. Produced again by Byron Kennedy. Edited by David Stiven. And it was lensed by Dean Selmer, who is an Academy Award-winning cinematographer who lensed Dances with Wolves and The Last Action Hero, but then also went on in the latter half of his career to photograph Mall Cop 2 and The Nutty Professor. So pretty mixed bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, shot in the glorious CinemaScope. What I quite like about the opening of this film is, and Dan watched it the other day, so he'll know what I'm talking about. The opening montage, because it has like a really interesting combination of stock footage and footage from the original film.
Yes,
that is all in the Academy ratio, and you have this really gnarly, old, grizzled Australian actor doing the voiceover, saying that like, in again, they kind of play fast and loose with specific dates, but they say at some point in the past, 2 great warrior tribes, like 2 great countries, went to war, and it was a nuclear war over resources, oil and crude oils and things like that, and non-renewable energy became massively scarce, and so there was a third world war. It turned nuclear, and he basically explains the backstory to this post-apocalypse. Then you get the origins of Mad Max. So they show the footage of his wife and son getting run over by a toe cutter and his gang, and then bam, it crash cuts immediately into glorious CinemaScope and it opens with that amazing chase where he's being chased by Vernon Wells as Wes with his giant red mohawk in his leather bondage gear. He is one of the...
It threw me off because at one point, because obviously I didn't realise until I think it was about 30 minutes in that he has arseless chaps on.
Yeah.
I didn't know. It was like, I was like 40 minutes, I was like, hang on a minute, has he always been missing his arse?
Did you also notice that he keeps his concubine boy lover on a chain?
Yes, yeah.
So he has like a young, blonde, fair-haired boyfriend.
This gang is very BDSM-y.
Very homoerotic, very BDSM-y. They're all wearing leathers and chains and things like that.
The guy with the red mohawk is also in Weird Science.
He is also in Commando. It is the amazing Vernon Wells, one of the most, you love to hate him so much.
Yeah.
He's such.
So I found that obviously Humongous is the leader of the gang.
Yep.
But I found him, Red Mohawk, more terrifying.
Yes,
than Humongous.
yeah. So that's basically it. You get this brief opening monologue. At some point in the past, there was a nuclear war. We're now in a post-apocalypse, and then bam, it just goes straight into a chase. Max is in his all-black V8 Interceptor. He's being chased down by these
so good
guys on a motorbike, and that's basically all the introduction and context you get.
Yeah.
But what's brilliant about it is it's such a succinct, quick way of filling everybody in that you don't have to have seen Mad Max to jump into it. And I hadn't seen Mad Max when I watched The Road Warrior. I watched The Road Warrior first. As I said, I came home from whatever film me and my dad had gone to watch. He was like, "You need to watch this."
You're watching it now.
But yeah, it's a short film. It's 96 minutes.
Yeah, it's not very long at all.
Barely an hour and a half.
It's quite a simple story and plot as well. So it's pretty much the names in these as well. Captain Gyro, who I think it was we discussed in the Matrix podcast, is the train conductor from Matrix. And as soon as I saw him straight away, it just clicked. Yeah, because I forgot you said about that. I really like him in that as well.
So some indeterminate amount of time after the events of the first one, Max is a drifter. He's driving around in the outback in the wasteland in his souped up, tricked out black car. He's basically going from skirmish to skirmish, just getting whatever he can in terms of resources, petrol, things like that. He happens upon Bruce Spence as the gyro captain. He's this random drifter who happens to have a gyrocopter.
Yeah.
He's just about to kill the gyrocopter and raid his vehicle for fuel when the gyrocopter says, "No, don't kill me. There is a oil refinery not far from here, and they are pumping gasolines." I love the way they say gasoline in these films. They're pumping gas straight out of the ground. It's yours for the taking. I can show you where it is. So Max kidnaps him, takes him to show him where this oil refinery is, and he finds that the oil refinery is under siege by a biker gang, very similar to the ones in the first one, except this one is led by the Lord Humongous,
who is fucking humongous.
He is this leader of the Wasteland. He is played by an unknown Swedish bodybuilder.
Something like that.
Some Nordic bodybuilder who doesn't really have any other acting credits to his name, but this huge, terrifying guy who wears a hockey mask and gimp gear. He's wearing
he's literally just little tiny leather pants,
leather speedos.
Yeah.
Like the most well-spoken bad guy.
Yeah, the most eloquent,
like the most eloquent talking guy.
Everything is very clear. Yeah, he's calm. Yeah.
And this biker gang is trying to break into this fortified oil refinery to get their petrol. Max manages to I'm cutting through a lot of fluff here, but Max manages to get inside the oil refinery, and he brokers a deal with the leader of this clan of people, and he says, if you give me enough fuel, as much fuel as I can carry, I will get you away out of here. I'll get you safe passage out of here. I can get rid of the gang, and I can get you on your way safely away from here. And that's basically it. There's no other story from that. There's no other sort of narrative. There's nothing else to the screenplay. The last sort of 20 minutes is a chase, and it's, for my money, I know you guys are going to think this is sacrilegious, it is the best chase in any movie ever. It beats the Matrix Reloaded. It beats Fury Road, which is basically a whole chase movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's about it. It's just cool.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
Yeah. Should we play the because you asked me to get the Lord Humongous intro.
Yes. Let's hear his speech.
So this whole section, what you're about to hear is his whole speech. I did cut a middle section out, which I'll explain afterwards because it would have been. We basically would have been watching the movie, but yeah, this is the Lord Humongous intro and speech.
Yes.
Greetings from the Humongous, the Lord Humongous, the warrior of the Wasteland, the Ayatollah of rock and roller!
I am gravely disappointed. Again you have made me unleash my dogs of war. Look at what remains of your gallant scouts. Why? Because you're selfish. You hoard your gasoline. You will not listen to reason. Now my prisoners say you plan to take your gasoline out of the wasteland. You sent them out this morning to find a vehicle. A rig big enough to hold that fat tank of gas. What a puny plan. Look around you. This is the valley of death.
See? Nothing can escape! The Humongous rules the Wasteland! Give them nothing! Blow it up! Give them nothing!
There has been too much violence, too much pain. None here without sin. But I have an honorable compromise. Just walk away. Give you a pump, the oil, the gasoline, and the whole compound, and I spare you lives. Just walk away. I will give you safe passage in Wasteland. Just walk away, and there will be an end to the horror. I await your answer. You have one full day to decide.
It just makes me want to rewatch it again.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's one thing that we can say about Mad Max 2 before we jump into Fury Road, everything that is in Mad Max 2 is turned up to 11 in Fury Road.
Yeah.
And the same, everything that the Lord Humongous, everything about him, his like well-spoken sort of thespian, Shakespearean diction and vocabulary can be said of the Immortan Joe. This contrast between this absolutely disgusting brute who is like larger than life that speaks with this really twisted, well put together calmness, exactly. This disquieting sort of peacefulness
for a world that's just full of madness, and you've got him as a focal point.
One theory, and again, going back to the continuity thing, a theory that the fans have sort of pushed over the years.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Is that the wingman character, his partner in the first one, Goose, who gets badly maimed and disfigured, that the Lord Humongous is him.
Really?
So a theory that the fans, because obviously when the Lord Humongous is introduced, he's wearing this hockey mask.
Yes.
And there are exactly.
Yes, yeah. His hair, he's got like little strands of hair, and his head's pumping. He looks a little bit Voorheesy kind of head.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of shots of the back of his head where he's got like these bizarre sort of like scarring going on. And
his head's pulsing.
Yeah, Miller has said before that like beneath the hockey mask he was going to be disfigured. Obviously you never see it, but they were like, if the mask came off, like Darth Vader, if the mask was revealed, he would have been badly disfigured beneath. A lot of fans over the years have said that's why he's such a perfect foil for Max, because they were both police officers, they were both fantastic drivers, they were both men that were going to do well in the wasteland. And Max has become this drifter who's gone off on his own and has like tried to fend for himself, whereas the Lord Humongous, because he's been driven mad by the fact that he was disfigured, Goose has gone on to become this sort of bizarre figurehead and this sort of fake prophet who's amassed this sort of gang of followers, which again is turned up to 11 in Fury Road when you meet the Immortan Joe. Instead of just like a biker gang, he's got this huge citadel and a family and loads of concubines and prisoner wives and things like that. But that's one of the fan theories. Another fan theory, again going into the continuity thing, the kid in Mad Max 2, the boomerang kid, the feral kid, people believe that he is Tom Hardy's character in Fury Road.
So we had this discussion the other day, didn't we?
Yeah. So one thing that is like consistent throughout these films is that the state of the apocalypse gets worse as the movies go on. Mm-hmm. So you start off in Mad Max, like I was saying, it's like it's not quite at an apocalypse yet, but society is on the brink of collapse.
Yep.
The Road Warrior, shit has hit the fan. There has been a war, and we're just after we're in like the first few years of the apocalypse. By the time you get to Thunderdome, it's like everybody's gone full hog, full bore into the apocalypse lifestyle, and then you get to Fury Road, and it's like these people have clearly been living like this for generations. Like they've established entire communities. You get the many mothers that Furiosa is trying to get back to, and they're like geriatrics that have been living like this their entire lives. So like they've grown up in the Wasteland. You know what I mean? So the idea is that the feral kid that is in the Road Warrior is actually Tom Hardy in Fury Road. That one I'm a bit less inclined to believe because I think it's pretty clear that it is Max, and the fact that he wears the same jacket and he says I was a police officer and he has the same interceptor. But again, it's one of those theories that fans have put out over the years.
Also, because I had this down, isn't the narrator at the beginning and the end of Road Warrior the feral kid talking about Mad Max?
Yeah.
Because he says we never saw him again and all this stuff.
He says, I grew up to be the leader of the great Northern tribe or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I find it interesting. It's just one of those theories that has gone out over the years. I will talk about the Road Warrior a bit more when we talk about Fury Road, but I think we should probably get onto Fury Road now.
I'll just say quick, the scene that
we're not skipping something.
So just quick, that clip that you just heard, in between that, there is a scene where we first meet the feral kid with one of the best weapons I wasn't expecting to love, the fucking sharp as razors boomerang that he just launches and it just gets lodged in the red Mohawk's boyfriend's head, and he's literally just fucking wedged in there, and then he throws it again, and then the guy that introduces him, Humongous, tries to catch it and just cuts his fingers off, and everyone just laughs at him, and he's just running around trying to find his fingers. And that especially obviously the boomerang is obviously associated with Australia a lot, and to have that as such a cool fucking weapon was really cool.
Yeah, the stunt that we mentioned.
Yes.
Was,
yeah.
It's just before the interceptor gets blown up, right?
Yeah.
You've seen it recently, right? Mm-hmm. So he kind of flips over the car.
Yeah.
But if you watch it, did you see his ankles hit the car?
No.
And then so apparently he hit it so hard he broke his leg in like 8 places. And he almost died.
Yeah, and they kept it in. It's like
they kept it in.
Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna have to look at that clip.
The take that is in the movie is the shot where the stuntman breaks his ankle. Yeah, the stunts in this film, it's escalation as the films go on. The stunts in Mad Max are fantastic for like a first-time director who was doing everything guerrilla with no permits, and like most people were unpaid and had never made a film before. It's mental. The stunts in this are insane, and then you get to Fury Road, and it's like some of the best stunts that have ever.
It's a really good segue because the stunt driver who did almost die and break his leg is the one who rolled the interceptor in Fury Road.
Oh, really?
So he came back for Fury Road and said that he wanted to do that stunt.
That's really cool.
What I will say, me and my dad, when I was younger, used to quote the Road Warrior all the time. I can't remember his name. He's going to piss me off now. It's going to annoy me. Bruce Spence.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Australian national treasure. I'm saying that as if I'm an Australian. But if I was an Australian, he would be a national treasure to me. Obviously, we said he is the train man in Revolutions. He is in Revenge of the Sith. He's in The Lord of the Rings. Very tall, very wiry, so he often plays very skinny dudes in movies. He is in Thunderdome, and this is why.
Is he a different character? Or is he the same?
This is
Right,
this
so
is.
are we
We're
getting to Thunderdome because
we're talking about continuity. This is a thing. To the best of my knowledge, Miller and Kennedy have never said that he's not the same character, but it's so suspiciously similar.
He owns a plane in this one.
He's a pilot living in the wasteland, played by the same character. But anyway, me and my dad used to quote. He has some great lines in that. When they're walking through, he just talks. He's got verbal diarrhea. And I think that's Max, very famous for not speaking. So in those scenes, he just speaks at him. Like every scene that they are together, it's like Mel Gibson not saying anything and him just talking at him. I love the bit where they're walking back to his pilot and he's just reminiscing about things that he loved before the apocalypse. He's like, do you remember lingerie? Remember how great lingerie was? One of my favorite moments in this movie. Max, if you remember, wields, and he has it in Fury Road as well, he wields an iconic sawn-off double-barrel shotgun, right? For the first sort of 20 minutes of the movie, he has this shotgun at Bruce Spence. He keeps him like gunpoint, right? He pulls it on him, and then Bruce Spence like puts his hands up, and then he keeps him at gunpoint in his car while he's driving. When they eventually get to wherever it is they're going, Max opens the gun and reveals that it was empty the entire time. So it was a bluff, but his poker face was that good that Bruce Spence believed him. He goes, empty the entire time. And he looks at him and he goes, that's low. That's dishonest. And me and my dad would quote that a lot. When he goes to disarm the bomb that he has underneath his interceptor, shows just how great of a thinker Max is and just how great of a strategist he is and how he thinks one step ahead. He's booby-trapped his car, so if he was to get killed and somebody went to siphon the gas out, if they opened the gas tank, the car would blow up. So when the gyro captain goes to steal his fuel, Max just says like, and he goes, okay, go over there and disarm it. And he goes to put his hand underneath the car, and Bruce Spence stops him and he goes, a quick fella might have a weapon under there. And then Max reveals that he did actually have a knife stored under the car. Me and my dad say that to each other quite a lot. We did when we were kids. Well, let's say when we were kids. When I was a kid and my dad and I were doing stuff together. But fantastic. He shows up in... I was a bit sad that he didn't show up in Fury Road. Because he's still active. He still makes movies. Like he could have come back, but maybe he was offered. Said no. I don't know. But Thunderdome, I'm not a huge fan of.
So I was watching this and I was thinking, I'm not watching a Mad Max film. It takes an hour and 20 minutes to get into any form of chase.
This was the first one that was co-directed, right?
Yeah, and I feel like you can tell. But as I was watching, I was like, "All right." So this is actually Ashley said. I'm going to quote Ashley here because she put it perfectly. So obviously, we've been watching these films over the past few days.
Yep.
And she really likes Fury Road as well. And she basically something along the lines of, "We've gone from watching intense, brutal subject matter to like we're watching a Sunday afternoon film on Channel 5.
100%. 100%.
And it to me, it was like I was watching Mad Max mixed with Gladiator, mixed with Goonies, mixed with Star Wars, mixed with... It felt like it was trying to 80s-fy Mad Max when it didn't need to be.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a Mad Max film whatsoever.
I think, again, when we talk about like reasons that I hadn't seen this, I feel like this had a reputation that I feel is probably worse than it deserves. Like, I know obviously it sounds like it's not good, but like I remember very much Beyond Thunderdome being like one of those sort of joke subtitles you put after stuff like Electric Boogaloo or whatever the fuck. And like... this is always... I'm trying to work out where you guys are at, because I remember the first time I heard of this being spoken about, again, in the same way that like Mel Gibson was a joke in South Park. Like, oh, it's the Tina Turner one. It's It's always been the punchline one, and I wonder if is it as bad as that, but then like looking it up today, it was like, you know, its general review scores being in like the 70s or whatever. Like, is it a case that it is that bad, or is just that bad compared to the others around it?
Me personally, right, because I love the Road Warrior and Fury Road so much, I don't ever have a desire to rewatch it.
No.
It's not terrible. Mel Gibson is fine in it.
Mm.
Tina Turner, as far as stunt casting goes, she's fine in it.
Yeah.
There's some
Great song.
I think
like the other ones, there's some great production design. The costume designs are great. The vehicles are cool. The action, when it is actually the actual Thunderdome fight, is cool.
Like, the gladiatorial stuff
bungee
sounds
dumping,
like a decent idea, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the sort of concept in this one.
It's like the idea that in the future, like history being cyclical, they've gone back to trial by combat and like Wergelds and Botgelds and all that sort of stuff. Like they've in the future, in order to settle a grievance between people, instead of going to like a solicitor or a court of law, you just go into a fucking Thunderdome and have a fucking fight. Like you just have a straightener with somebody.
I think the reason why I have no intention of rewatching it again. Like
I never have any desire to rewatch it.
I get a feeling it is because it is so out. It compared to what you've just watched before and what comes after, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It doesn't feel it felt like they tried going mainstream.
Yeah, they aim a lot younger, right? There's like kids in this
oh
film
my god,
that are sort of,
I was getting Hook vibes from it. The bit where he's basically in like the kind of where all the kids are and they're telling the story of the past and all this stuff. I was like, I feel like I'm watching it. None of it just felt like it did not. I was so disappointed.
Yeah. So like when you just said Hook, I only had a few things written down for Thunderdome. I had Lost Tribe of Children, nods to Lord of the Flies and Peter Pan.
Yep.
Like youth creating new culture. Max's full name is used for the first time.
Or Max Rockatansky.
Yeah. And the Gyro Captain being the character.
It was when I noticed as well that it was a co-directed film. It felt to me that it definitely wasn't just a George Miller voice on this.
Quite a lot of the crew from the first two don't. Like I said, a lot of people returned from the first one to the second one. Not that many people came back for the third one.
Also had the death of Byron Kennedy.
I was going to say,
he was
dedicated. I know there was like a tragedy that Miller wanted to step away from this, which is why it was co-directed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Brian May didn't come back to the score. There is one massive glaring omission from this film that I think would have made it 10 times better, and that is his amazing V8 Interceptor is not
Doesn't
there.
exist.
I mean, for narrative reasons, it gets blown the fuck up in the second one.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense for it to come back, even though it does come back. But yeah, the car is not in it, and I think that just like I mentioned earlier with like the Ecto 1 and Knight Rider, the car has become such they are like symbiotic. Most people, when you mention Mad Max, the first thing they'll think of is him in the car or the car.
Yeah.
And this is the only one out of the 4 mainline films that does not have the car. Even Furiosa, when he has his cameo, he stood next to the car. So yeah, the car doesn't come back. It was the first PG-13 film in the franchise, the only PG-13 film in the franchise. Makes me think of. There was quite a trend of those sort of 80s franchises that we were talking about earlier that became towards like the threequels and TV. Yeah. They got neutered for children because like the producers realised that kids are enjoying these films. Yeah. So why don't we, like RoboCop 3 or Rambo the series or things like that. They tried to aim for a younger audience and they ended up shit. Same with this one. I don't massively enjoy it. I tell you what I do like. The Master Blaster character. The idea of 2 people that have disabilities becoming a symbiotic organism to survive the Wasteland.
Yeah.
Master Blaster, for people that haven't seen it, is in the first half of the film, he's like built up to be the main villain, and then it turns out to be a misdirect. So we'll just do like a very brief overview of the plot. It picks up again some point in the future after the events of the Road Warrior. We're not really given a specific time frame. Max is wandering the desert. This time he is in a cart that is being drawn by camels and horses, because obviously the Interceptor gets blown up, so he doesn't have his car. He happens upon a settlement, and this one is way more built up and sophisticated than the one in the Road Warrior, which shows that people are starting to rebuild in the apocalypse, but in some places they're more advanced, in some places they've regressed. He gains access to this settlement on the condition that he will do a favor for Tina Turner's character. Tina Turner has basically become like the mayor or the queen of this settlement, and she has beef with this guy called Master Blaster, and he is billed as this incredibly formidable foe, a bit like the Lord Humongous in the second one. He's this giant, huge, intimidating guy, and she says, I'll let you into my community if you can kill Master Blaster in the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome is this gladiator arena that is basically like the focal point, the center of this community, of this like...
Is it called Barterland? Is it called
Barterland, this sort of like town settlement that's been built. And Max says, that's fine, I'll do that for you. Master Blaster is revealed as this massive, huge, imposing bodybuilder guy with a dwarf on his back. This man with some sort of growth disability. He's a very short guy who is riding on the back of this huge bodybuilder. Max gets into the Thunderdome to have a fight with this guy. He's wearing a mask. We don't see his face. Very similar to the Lord Humongous in the second one. Max manages to, I think, punch off his mask, and it's revealed that this man has Down syndrome. He's got learning difficulties. Max says, I'm not going to kill him. I didn't realise he's got a learning disability. And it gets revealed that these two guys in the apocalypse have joined together because on their own, they can't survive because they both have an ailment or a disability of some kind. Master Blaster is physically equipped to... acquit himself in the Wasteland because he's huge, but he's got a learning difficulty, so he can't like think on his feet or you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
The dwarf character is incredibly shrewd and cunning and like a mastermind, but he's obviously physically stunted because he's a dwarf. So the pair of them together make a formidable force. I really like that as a concept, and I think that's a really cool sort of bit of world building, and I think that's a really... It makes for like an interesting bit of lore for this world. But it basically gets dropped as soon as Max reveals that he's got a disability. That character isn't really addressed again for the rest of the film. Tina Turner becomes the main villain, and then there's a chase involving a train, and that's basically it. That's the film.
Yeah.
There's not really much more to that.
So as the outsider here, I would say there's again from the hearing that the two things that do, and again, so we're not just being like, and then there's the third one, and then let's move on. I think it is interesting you say that with the amount of like disability stuff that then comes back in Fury Road, and the way that like the idea of Immortan Joe like desperately wanting a perfect child and etc. etc. I think that's interesting that they're already covering those topics like as early as they are. And again, with the like, it is fascinating to me with people saying like, oh, this is the kid-friendly one, this is the PG-13 one. One of the things that sticks out to me so much about George Miller, and I made the joke about the films that he then did on the way over here, but like, that this is the guy that went on to then do Pig in the City and Happy Feet. Like, there is something about him that is very sincere, like very sincere in that I almost feel like there is probably still something there that like this wasn't, again, none of this franchise, at least from what I know of it, ever feels like he was being told to do this for this reason.
100%.
I think there is probably something in like, again, if you're saying like, if you're talking about myths and what have you, and the myths of the Wasteland, the idea of telling a future generation, there is probably a bit of that coming through in this. And again, I will say this a lot more when we get into the next ones. I love the dude's sincerity. I love there was probably a belief in this that he could, you know, the people are rebuilding, you know, the future will be better, which I think is...
It's the only film as well, sorry, at the end of the film, we actually end up in Sydney. So we see we see an actual destroyed city because we don't see any of that in any of the films that we're doing.
No. I mean, you see like settlements in the first one, but again, they don't really say what city it is, and it's not really a city. You see the police precinct and a bit of a hospital, but yeah, you're right. You see, and so much of these films, like Harri just said, the end goal is we are going to go from this place to another place to build a better life. The group in the second one, we're trying to, what is it the guy says? The guy builds it to him. He says, they're trying to get to the coast.
Yeah,
And,
like,
he has like a postcard in his wallet, and he says, "Lush green spaces, nothing to do but breed." But they're trying to get somewhere to build a better life.
yeah.
In Thunderdome, the kids are trying to get to. They've been told stories of cities. They've never seen a city before, so they want to get to Sydney because they want to build a better life. Fury Road, the whole point is they're trying to get to the green place. They want to go somewhere where they can actually like make sustainable living, plant trees and vegetation and food and things
when you
like
think about it that way, it's actually the ending of Thunderdome is actually quite sad because these kids arrive at a place that is uninhabitable. And it's quite.
Well, we don't know that for certain, but I like to think that
from the visuals,
the visuals, it's very destitute and barren. But you like to think that once they've been there for a while, they're going to rebuild it and try and like build a better world. But like Harry says, exactly, there is a real earnest sincerity to it, to all of it. That seems like hope is the main thing.
Yeah.
They all, apart from the first one, they all end on a positive note to some extent. For certain characters are going to go on and rebuild. Whether it's Furiosa's, she's going to rebuild the Citadel and make water available to everybody.
That's actually quite a moment. Actually, you saying about like there is this sense of hope in Furiosa. Dementus goes on about there is no hope. Kind of like he has a massive sprawl about there is no hope. So why do you keep kind of going for it? And like you say, in all these films, there is just that little bit of hope that there is a better place or we can do better.
Yeah.
So we move on to the big one.
I just want to say, because Harry brought it up, I love Happy Feet.
I love Babe Pig in the City as well. Yeah, it's so good.
I mean, I think I said this earlier. If you go to any sort of film course and you look at global cinema, when you touch on the Australian New Wave and Australian filmmakers, it's always George Miller and Peter Weir that come up. And outside of that, and outside of the Mad Max franchise, I don't think George Miller gets spoken about enough. I think he is by all accounts, a really nice guy.
Yep.
He is a really good filmmaker.
What was the name of the film he'd done between Fury Road and Furiosa?
1,000 Years of Longing.
Yes, where Idris Elba plays a djinn, doesn't he?
It was good?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's also, interestingly, it's broken into a 5-act structure, like Furiosa.
Oh,
so
okay.
instead of it being 3 acts, it's part 1 to 5. And same in Furiosa, it's 5 chapters.
Yeah.
Just I thought an interesting little tip.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, shall we move on to...
Before we do...
Sorry.
Before we do, I just think it's probably worth mentioning because we haven't massively touched on it, but I feel like so what year was Beyond Thunderdome?
1985?
Yes.
So 85 to 2015 we're saying, right? So 30 years.
Yep.
The amount of this, again, like I said, as someone who had never seen it, the amount that this went on to influence pop culture in
100%.
general, even if we weren't necessarily talking about it, like this, whether that is like the reference point the reference points for me being stuff like there was a wrestling duo that were just let's do Mad Max. There were Borderlands games. There were fucking like even if you
Fallout, The Last of Us, The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So many of the Boyle with 28 Days Later, zombie fiction, post-apocalypse, steampunk.
Yeah.
Borrows from Diesel Punk, and this is like the first Diesel Punk franchise. So much has been influenced.
When we were talking about Akira, you mentioned like 2000 AD and stuff like that. The amount you can see in like Judge Dredd's uniform and
100%.
everything. Like the amount of again, even if you're joking about Beyond Thunderdome, like that sort of combat stuff, I feel like
trial
it's been a lot in
100%.
stuff. Again, the like everyone looking like a fucking NFL player. Like it was. Again, it's weird to think that it was dormant for so long. And again, I feel like in the way that we talked about, like people were always wanting for more Star Wars. They were always wanting for the other things to come back. They were always being pushed in the nostalgia way, whereas this is probably more visually influential to a certain extent. Maybe not more influential than those, but it's interesting that its influence never went away even when it wasn't being said physically, wasn't actually being the name being mentioned. It was still there.
100% agree. I mean, I as I said to you in my opening, like, what are we, nearly an hour and a half into this?
Yeah.
As I said an hour and a half ago, I before I'd even watched Mad Max, there were Mad Max posters in South Park and stuff like that. I mean, the phrase 2 men enter, 1 man leave. That I've heard that in even like American sitcoms, like shows reference that all the time, and that is the tagline to Thunderdome. But yeah, sorry. Thank you for that, Harry.
No, that's all good. It was mostly just my like weird excuse to get a wrestling reference in there because I have to do those at least once.
And I was talking earlier about how so much of the earlier films borrow from samurai films and Kurosawa and westerns and things like that, and Campbell, Hero of a Thousand Faces. Max is like a melting pot of all of these different lone warrior, lone gunman sources, but there is a bizarre amount of pro wrestling influence in Fury Road, and even in 85, the way characters talk and act, the way that the Lord Humongous dresses and speaks is like somebody trying to channel their sort of ring presence, walking around with a mic, trying to hype people up before a match.
It's a thing I'm going to talk about, like, when we get into Fury Road, but I feel like so much of Fury Road was like an action film that was treated like art for not the first time, and I think you can see a lot of that in terms of, again, I will talk about in Fury Road, a lot of it feels like a sort of a performance, like a Cirque du Soleil. It's like an almost ballet sort of style thing, and professional wrestling being treated in that same way. I think there is probably a lot of people that dismissed it for a long time because it was seen as trash art, and I feel like in the same way they got sort of revitalized through people, looking at them more critically.
I just want to say before we move on to Fury Road, because I know this was the case for a few of my friends, Fury Road inspired a lot of people to go back and revisit, at the very least, The Road Warrior. If you haven't seen any of the originals, I will implore you at least to go and watch The Road Warrior. If you enjoy Fury Road, you will enjoy The Road Warrior.
100%.
Is it good enough? Is it good enough to get over the Mel Gibson-ness? Gibson?
Yeah.
I mean, he has what is it, 16 lines in the entire thing. He barely speaks. But
yeah, it's so good.
I've said this in previous episodes, and if I had done a intro like our
Event Horizon
one, I was going to say Mad Max, if anything else, is famous for kickstarting the careers of beloved family filmmaker George Miller and drunken anti-Semite Mel Gibson. So that line was going to be in my intro that I didn't write. I'm just kidding. I'm not speaking for anybody else because I know Harry doesn't agree. I don't hate Mel Gibson. I happen to like Apocalypto, and I'm excited for To Passion to Christ.
So I would my only knowledge of Apocalypto was talking to someone once about like City of God and like foreign films and trying to go into that way. Like, I love world film like Apocalypto.
I must say
I try not to be like gatekeeper or whatever, but like, dude,
I have a soft spot for Apocalypto. I quite enjoy it. Again, it was a film that was recommended to me by my dad, but this says all you need to know about it. On the Wikipedia article, it has its own subheading for historical inaccuracy.
Yep. So the other anecdote that I will get in here, I'm assuming this would be the part in the podcast where we'd like cut to a break, but we don't have a sponsor yet. So if you
I'm going to need to take a break in a minute.
Enough.
just to.
I was going to say say what you're going to say.
Sorry, yeah.
Well, I was going off on my own little joke there anyway. Regardless, the other thing that I will always stick out to me about Mel Gibson films, being very drunk in a nightclub once, me and a friend overhearing someone try and chat up a girl by talking about how he was 5'6" and asking, "Have you seen Hacksaw Ridge?" And I just really want to know how this dude thought the Christian War movie was going to get him to where he wanted to get to. Like, part of me really wanted, I just want to see the game here. I just want to know what
Dude, didn't you know, right? The club scene, girls love conscientious objectors. So if you ever want to take a girl home, just talk about men that abstained from war. Like, they love that stuff. Muhammad Ali, they love it, man.
I will carry you up so many mountains.
Yeah, thank you for indulging that.
Hello, me again. Thank you very much for listening to that episode, all based on the original trilogy, the original Mad Max trilogy. Just a couple of plugs for you. We are on Instagram at The Missing Scene Pod. We are also on X at Missing Scene Pod. We are, all three of us, Harry will be soon, are on Letterboxd. We are Daniel Jeeves, Westwood C, and OJB, all caps, no spaces. And you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music every Friday from 6. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you enjoy the second part.